Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, and I hope you had a great weekend and had the opportunity to relax and catch up on some rest, maybe. So today, I want to go over what we'll be doing this week. We're going to be doing some new things. I did real quick notice I had a few questions, so I want to go back to how people can open up docs. So this week, we're going to continue doing our 2 CNN10s a week. You can choose which days, so which videos you want to watch. You can get them done ahead of time, or if you end up getting stuck and have to do them later in the week, that is fine. So remember, when you go to CNN10.com/CNN10, you will see the current day's video. If you need to look at any previous days, they're right underneath. You might not even have to scroll. You'll see the different days, so you can watch that. Remember that your CNN 10 bell ringer is attached in focus, and it is also on the blog. So whichever way you want to go and do that. If you are downloading it from either site, when you click on your worksheet, whatever worksheet it is, it will download to your computer. And if you recall, yes, I have done several videos on this, but I'm still getting questions, so I'm going to walk you through it. So when you click on that attachment for a worksheet for my class or any class, it should download to the bottom of your computer. And then you will see a little notification saying it's done. You can click on it and open it up. It looks like it's ready to go, but you cannot type in it. That is because most computers have a safety feature where they set it to kind of lock it just in case. So if you look at the top of your Microsoft document, you will see a yellow line across. And then on the right side, there's the right, of that yellow line, you will see a button that you can click which says Enable Editing. Once you click on that, it will refresh and it will allow you to type in your answers. You need to save it somewhere on your computer. Again, I recommend having a folder set up for school, and then within that folder, another folder for each subject, but that's me. I try to stay organized. And then you can upload it. So if you are someone who is still saying, I can't type in the document, make sure you look at the top for the yellow line and then click Enable Editing. So this week, as always, we're doing our 2 CNN10s. We're also going to be going over the different types of articles. We've talked about a lot of different ones, our basic ones that you're going to see. So we've talked about news articles, and you've actually done some feature articles as well with sports and entertainment, but there is a lot more to do. So I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint with you guys. It's going to go over that. There is a quiz associated with it that you'll take, which is all multiple choice. I didn't do any trick questions. If you are paying attention to the PowerPoint, you should be good. And we are going to try to do a Fake News Friday with FlipGrid. So I will be including that information for you. So let's go ahead and start with our types of articles. So I'm going to share the PowerPoint that I made for you guys. There it is. All right, so types of articles. There's more to news than just front page and sports. So again, we've done a lot of the basics, but there are many more that I want to make sure you're at least familiar with. So articles can be divided into 2 main categories. You have news articles and you have feature articles. Let's talk a little bit more about the differences. News articles are just facts. They can be international. So when you think international, think the whole world globally. They can be national. That is your country. So for us, it would be North America. Or it can be local. So local is usually your state, your city. And whenever we do our news blog, we also say for our purposes that local is things going on at our school. Think of news articles as things you need to know. Now, don't take that too literally because you are 12, 13, or 14, and you don't feel like you need to know about a law that's passing, or you don't need to know about taxes because you don't have to worry about it. So it's not just about 13-year-old you. When we say it's a need to know, it's something that's going to have an effect on a lot of people. So updates with the COVID-19, those are news articles, things that we need to know about, any changes we need to make. If there is strong storms coming our way, those are things we need to know for safety purposes, okay? So you have news articles, and you also have feature articles. Feature articles are more in-depth. They can be more engaging topics. They might not cover all of the 5 W's like a news article. Sometimes they may just focus on one or two of those, going really in depth on the who of someone and kind of telling you their whole life story. Feature articles are things that are nice to know. You may be very interested in them. Say sports. Sports falls under feature, and we'll go over that. And in your opinion, you need to know everything about sports, but it is not necessarily something that can dramatically affect life. So that's why it would be considered a feature. So news articles are need to know, features are nice to know. So with news articles, they deal with breaking news, things that are happening right now, or current news, things that are still ongoing. The writer must give facts and detailed information following answers to general questions like our good old 5 W's, who is involved, what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, why did it happen, and how did it happen, or how is it impacting us? A news article can include accounts of eyewitnesses to the happening event. So sometimes the reporter might not have been there to actually see what happened. So doing those interviews with eyewitnesses can help them build their story. They can contain photographs, which we did talk about. Pictures make everybody a little more interested in. Accounts of what happened, statistics, so numbers involved, graphs to kind of display any sort of information, recollections or things that people remember if they are doing an update back to a year ago of an event that happened. So recollections, things that people remember from that time period. Interviews, polls for politics coming up. All of those are used for supporting details in that need to know article. All right, so let's do a check for comprehension. Which of the headlines sounds most like it would be a news article? Is it A, Borderlands 3 wins video game of the year? B, hobbies to learn during quarantine? C, actor Tom Hanks tests positive for COVID-19? Or D, President Trump announces new financial plan to help citizens with the stimulus check? Think for a second. If you selected D, you are correct. So Borderlands 3, it's a video game. So that lets us know that is not something we need to know. Hobbies to learn during the quarantine, although we might be really bored, it is not something we need to know. It is nice to know. Actor Tom Hanks tests positive for COVID-19. That was a very big story because Tom Hanks is a very beloved actor, which he ended up being totally fine for. He's out of his quarantine, in case you were worried. But again, not something that necessarily affects us. But the need to know would be that the president is creating a new plan that's going to try to help people during their financial issues during COVID-19. So that would be the best choice for a news article. All right. So the second type of articles we said are feature articles. So these are the nice to know. So feature articles intend to inform, teach, or amuse the reader with the topic. So that's a little different. These are sometimes more people feel in an opinionated way that they're more interesting because it's not just facts. There's other details going on. So it might be a funny story about someone's life. It could be a sad story about someone's life, something that they've really had to overcome. It could be about sports. It could be a movie review. It could be many different things. The topics usually center on what we call human interest. So when we say people, it could be a little mini biography of somebody in the community, an actor, a performing artist, hobbies that you can pick up, sports, entertainment, movies coming out, movie reviews. So again, these are the nice to know things. So features may also include conventions found in fiction writing. So remember, fiction writing, fiction is fake. Nonfiction is real. So when we say fiction, we think stories, novels. So you can have a lot of freedom. If you remember with our sports articles and our movie articles, you had a lot more freedom to choose your words and come up with really fun, interesting leads. So that's what we mean by they may include conventions such as dialogue. It might be direct conversations that you have with people. There might be a kind of plot if you're explaining a movie review. You could go into details about characters or that real life person you're talking about. And a feature article may include personality sketches, so focusing on people. It could be an essay where someone sort of gives their opinion about a topic. It could be how-tos, how to cook something or make a favorite dessert. It could be interviews. It could be so many different things. So features, you're going to realize, and that's going to be the second half, there's a lot of different feature articles that you're going to find out about. So let's check for comprehension. Which one of these definitions is most accurate about feature articles? A, feature articles are more interesting than news. B, feature articles can sometimes include facts and have lots of details. C, feature articles include facts, details, and interviews about many different topics. Or D, feature articles are articles that are less important than news because they're just for fun. So take a second to look over. And if you chose C, that is the best choice. Feature articles are more interesting than news is an opinion, so that would not be a good definition. Feature articles can sometimes include facts and have lots of details. They do have lots of details, but they can sometimes include facts. We don't want to have fake news going on. They must include facts. We're not going to make things up. Or D, feature articles are articles that are less important than news. Again, that is another opinion. So feature articles include facts. Okay, we're going to include facts. We're not going to make anything up. Details and interviews about many different topics. That's our best choice. So let's learn about all the different kinds of feature articles that are out there. So first you have a column. That's a newspaper or magazine piece that deals specifically with a field of interest or a broad issue. And that can be something that the reporter chooses or is assigned depending on the newspaper. So your example here is a column about gardening. So they give you information about different plants. They tell you when to plant your plants, depending on your environment, which plants are the best ones. So columns are usually on a topic or a trend. It could be about cars. It could be about cooking. It could be about art. So it is information, details about a specific topic or trend. The next one is expose. These are big articles. These articles use in-depth reporting with heavy research. This is not something that's done in a couple of days. This can often take weeks, months, or even sometimes years, depending on how serious the topic is. They go through many interviews to try to find people who are involved, and there's a lot of documentation to expose. Expose. Corruption and wrongdoing in business, in politics, or with celebrities. So you may remember a year or so back, there was a huge scandal, the college scandal, where several celebrities and high-profile business owners were paying colleges for their kids to get in. They were faking their SAT scores. They were making these huge donations so their kids could get in. They were making claims that their children were on like the rowing team or a volleyball team or soccer team to get scholarships. So when that information started to become to light, you have reporters who started doing this heavy research to find out the truth and then expose it. So the example here was one several years back, flavoring additives put professional cooks at risk. So this reporter found a study that said when you use the kind of fake butter, so your margarine, when it's heated up, it releases different chemicals that can actually cause people to have different negative effects. And so he published that. So an expose is something that goes deep into detail, research with lots of proof to expose something that needs to be fixed. All right, human interest stories. So it's an article that involves local people and events. It may go into great detail about someone's life. It could be a positive thing. It could be a sad thing. It could be a problem that someone had to overcome. And sometimes when we have problems, sometimes we solve them. Sometimes the problem doesn't get solved. So that's what I mean. It could have that happy ending or a sad ending. It could also be with different trends that people are doing. So this was an example of a young man, Stephen Sutton, who at 19, he courageously fought cancer, raised 3.4 million pounds for charity, and he inspired a nation. So it was his whole life story about how he contracted cancer, the difficulties that he went through, but the fact that he still continued to fight and to try to do good even when he was suffering from this illness. So that's an example of human interest. Editorials, they usually have their own section of the newspaper, and those were one of the ones we talked about where you are allowed to have an opinion. So article that reviews the facts of a situation and gives an opinion on the topic. So the writer, whoever that writer is, they're giving their personal opinion. Many editorials are in response to political issues, but not all. Like this example, this was an opinion piece about Kindles versus books. And if you happen to look kind of in that second column, in all caps, the writer says the Kindle will never be the same as books. So he talks about all the great things and how technology is cool, but in his opinion, books are still better, and he gives several reasons why. So editorials take the opinion that the personal writer has, and they have to use facts to support that. Then you have something called op-ed. So that is opposite of editorials. So articles that run opposite the editorial page, they're in response to a published editorial. So it could be one from the day before or even a week before. It just depends on when the newspaper publishes it. And they're written by readers. So they're written by the everyday person to a current editorial and a topical subject. So this was one. And they tell you at the top, it's the op-ed page. Not all newspapers make it that easy, but they did. And they talk about, sorry, I'm going to pause for a second to plug in my laptop because I just saw it change. Boop, there we are, we're back. So this was a point of view. So it was someone else's point of view. So this reader, and if you look at the byline, they still gave her a byline, June Bingham, talked about the separation of church and state, which is something that a lot of people go back and forth about. So she gave her opinion of separation of church and state. She included some information, some facts. And although it's kind of cut off in this example, usually what newspapers will do is they will put at the end, even though they already did a byline for her, the June Bingham, they'll put a little bit of information like June Bingham is a citizen of Jacksonville. She has been a resident for 17 years. She's involved with this or that. So they give a little bit of background information so you understand who this community writer is. Personality profiles. They're pretty obvious, I think. So it's a personal or professional. So it could just be, when we say personal, just somebody from the neighborhood, some interesting person. Or a professional, so any kind, it could be about a lawyer, an actor, a doctor, a portrait, which is like a background of their individual life. It could highlight their whole life or just specific things. It may have been some great achievement or just how they've gone through life. So this is an example of a professional portrait. Sorry, we kind of went out for a second. A professional portrait of an actor, Diane Weiss, and it talked about her whole background, all the different things that she's acted in, some about her personal life, and kind of just give a nice timeline of her. So personality profile is about a person. Seasonal, again, probably one you can figure out. It's an article written about a holiday, a season of the year, or a timely observance. So our example here, shocking savories. So it's all about the fun things that you can cook for Halloween. So holiday. When we say season of year, it could be something about spring and planting. It could be summer fun, like where to go for the best beaches. Timely observance. That can be things that happen a certain time of the year that's not necessarily a holiday. So think the fair. The fair's coming into town, so maybe they're doing an article about it. So that would be different examples of seasonal. Sports. We did sports and we covered sports. So remember, those are articles that uncover important games, any scandals going on. It could be a player profile. It could talk about the future of a team, trades that are going on, things going on with sports facilities. We mean like the Jaguar Stadium, something like that, if they're doing an upgrade or if something has gone wrong. So in this example, it focuses on a particular team, how they've hit this achievement of having their 60 seasons and their winning streak for that. And they also, in the photo, included one of the players. So again, that's one we've covered before, so you're probably a little bit more familiar with that. Travel literature, again, probably about travel, right? Yes, it is. So travel articles inform and enlighten the reader through facts about a region's landscape, the scenery, the people, the customs, and the atmosphere. So in this example, and I'm so sad it got cut off because it was a really beautifully designed paper. You have one of the iconic locations in India. They go into the history of India as a country. They talk about how it runs today. They had a lot of different fun graphics. So travel literature tells you about specific places to visit. It may give you travel tips going to specific places or just in general. And I believe, last but not least, film reviews, book reviews, album reviews, and game reviews. An album is what we call the music industry. Game, think video games, or even a cool board game if it comes out. So a review can be about a lot of things. A lot of times we just think of a movie review, but it can also be book, music album, or video games. So they are persuasive writing. Remember, we talked about that. You're going to give some background information. You're going to give some details. But ultimately, you wrap up with, what's your opinion? So they should have a very clear opinion and then support it with specific examples. So movies and books, if you're doing a review like that, you're going to talk about characters, the plot or story, the theme, the big moments, and the things that we're supposed to learn from it. From movies, remember we just did, so we talked about the cinematography, the technical parts, lighting, how your animation or CGI looks. For a book, you actually are focusing more on word choice and language and how it's set up. Is it set up in chronological order? Does it jump around between characters? Is that interesting? Is that confusing? So albums should cover the technical aspect of the music. So you're actually talking about instruments they use, the beat, the rhythm, vocals, as well as what they're actually singing about. So we're going in detail. What do their lyrics mean? Are they literally just what they say? Or do they have some deeper meaning, kind of like poetry? And then game reviews are going to cover the background or the backstory of a video game, because just about every game has some sort of story that you're following. It'll talk about the actual gameplay, what's good, what's bad, how many players, voice actors, if there's some important voice actors as well. So here's an example of one that was a large spread. So they have their photo that goes across. They talk about the scoring system that they use, because they actually do, if you notice on the right side of that photo, the best of the month. So they go through and actually review several games that came out, and they tell you what each ranking means, which is pretty detailed. So that's it for types of articles. So I am going to stop sharing and come on back. Give it a minute. There we are. So you can rewatch that presentation as often as you like, and I will also include just the presentation when I do the daily agenda post. So now that we've gone over that and you've had an opportunity, again, you can go through that as many times as you like. You will be taking a quiz on Microsoft Forms, so I will have that linked to you. It is multiple choice, true, false, just 15 questions. This here is not trying to trick you. She is just asking you questions from here, okay? And the last thing is we are going to try out FlipGrid. So I know a couple of teachers have already started doing it, so hopefully you might be a little bit more familiar, but if you're not, it's okay. It actually seems pretty easy. So I will be sharing that with you, and that's how we're going to do Fake News Friday. So I will share our FlipGrid class as well as the link to the post today. So when you open that up and you go to FlipGrid, you're going to sign in with your Duval Schools student email address, and it should be set up automatically for you to just log in and do that. Then you will see a Microsoft button that you can click, and that will show you the article for this week. It's about a young man and his valedictorian status. A valedictorian is basically the highest ranking, I guess, educationally speaking, the highest ranking student of a senior class. So based on their GPA, the person that has the highest GPA is considered the valedictorian, and they usually get a special honor. That looks really good on college transcripts, and they get to give a speech during graduation. So that's what your article's about. So I have it on a Word document, the screenshot, so you can read it. And then you are simply, and there's directions there for you to read, but you're simply going to, after you've read it, look for clues if you think it is real or fake. And then once you are ready, you will record your video using FlipGrid. So all you do is a quick welcome, hello, and your name, hello, I'm Ms. Terry. And then you just say, I think that this article was real because, and give your reasons, or I think this article was fake because, and give your reasons. And that's it. So it'll let you record. You get a minute and a half. So you definitely can't go on and on and on like some of us like to do. Miss Terry does it too. I understand. But you'll be able to do that. So recap for this week. We are doing 2 CNN10s. You have your video that you just watched, but you can go back and watch for your types of articles PowerPoint. You have a short quiz on that. And then the FlipGrid Fake News Friday. Okay. So this first Fake News Friday, I'm going to be honest, I'm not counting it as a grade. It's just if you have time and you want to participate, go ahead and do so. I'm trying to get everybody in gently and calmly so you don't stress out, because some of you guys are stressing out, okay? So if you have any questions, you will see me online. We will most likely do a live, I'm thinking Wednesday, but I'll update you guys on that just to see if anybody has any questions. And as always, if you have questions or if you are struggling, let me know on Teams, or if you want it to be more personal, we can email or we can set up a way to video chat so I can help you that way. Please just don't stress in silence. If I don't hear from you, I don't know what's going on. So let me help you. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you online.